This is TLV1.
The Tel Aviv Review.
Hello and welcome to the Tel Aviv Review. I'm your host, Gilad Halpern.
And I'm Yael Berda.
Every week we bring you conversations with authors about the books and research and other things that we like. And if you like us, please consider becoming a Patreon supporter by going to our homepage. That's tlv1.fm/Tel Aviv Review. Scroll down to the bottom and click the big red button that says Patreon. Click and support us. Some of you have been doing this for months and years, and we cannot thank you enough. Our guest today is a veteran activist for Jewish-Arab Shared Society in Israel, the former co-director of Sikui Ufuk, the Association for the Advancement of Civic Equality in Israel, the CEO of Hand in Hand, a bilingual Hebrew and Arabic school network, and the author of a new memoir entitled Sharing the Promised Land, in Pursuit of Equality Between Jewish and Arab Citizens in Israel, just published in English, and we are delighted to welcome Shuli Dichter to the studio. Hi, Shuli, and welcome.
Hi, good evening.
So we're talking a few days after the swearing in of the new government, the most right-wing in Israel's history, with a powerful Jewish supremacist element in it. Don't you think this is a terrible moment to be talking about shared equality? Or do you actually see an opportunity here that's opening?
Well, it is a terrible moment. In the same time, there is an opportunity here. The opportunity that I see is the activism and the urge that activists have now. I see this and I feel it, and I see the people who are coming and going out for activities much more than ever, signing up to organizations, and there is this push that we have never had before. So it's a terrible moment for Israel, terrible moment, I think, for the world. But there is an opportunity here to begin galvanize the civic power that may change this.
How will it change it in the absence of any sort of cooperation from the government? I mean, everything, there has been a gradual, admittedly, there has been, even under right-wing governments, a gradual openness to integrating the Arab public within the larger Israeli sphere. And now that's probably not going to continue. What are the prospects, do you think, in the absence of any cooperation from the government?
We will have to be very, very strong and able to present the other option all the time. But more than that, we must be very strong in order to actually act the other way. And what I mean is that today in Israel, there are quite few islands of shared society.
What are they?
First and foremost, the bilingual schools. And then you have, did you know that we have at least 3 shared theaters? And we have shared organizations, women organization, very important and strong, Ma'apach Tahrir. We have Ajik in the Negev, an organization that is mobilizing volunteers, and so many others that, I did this Excel sheet starting to count them. And the criteria was the organizations that are equally shared, and the number of people who are choosing to be part of it. The number I reached, and I stopped counting because it was not professional enough, is 74,000 people who in Israel who choose every day to become part of a joint, shared, equal framework. This is not, in Israel, this is not a number that you can just ignore. What we do have to do now, even under this, or mainly under this government, as much as we can, is to give these people the power and the ability to become not only islands, but to galvanize them to a continent. And I stop this metaphor here.
Okay.
So you're an educator. It's a major part of your life. And one of the striking chapters for me is the one where you discuss using children for political purposes.
Painful.
Painful, important. I know it's one of the things about this book. You just seem to be able to stare at all the difficulties, contradictions, and impossible things that are part of this work that you do, and tackle them. So I think it would be interesting to hear a little bit about this phrase.
This is painful because, and yes, my wife says that the book is actually a very shortened list of my failures. Of course it is. It's a reflection. This is a memoir, and you reflect on what you do. So, yes, I'm an educator. Until now, I'm an educator, but, well, today I have 10 grandchildren to educate. But along the years, I came to understand this in one of those tours, professional tours to Northern Ireland. In Northern Ireland, before the Good Friday Agreement, I think it was 1998, we went with the Abraham Fund to Northern Ireland, and we saw many organizations who are creating dialogue and engaging Protestant and Catholic people. And everywhere I asked them, okay, what about the next generation? We are rotten already. This is the concept that we are not. Nothing to invest in us. Let's build the next generations, and there they will do whatever we can't do. And the kids, they always said, the kids will follow. Everywhere. I mean, it was an agricultural project. It was ex-prisoners, and wherever we went, the kids will follow. And it's only then that that I had this. I understood this. That what we do. Why do we ask the children to fix the world? And it is immoral, unethical, in my opinion, because the entire curriculum of the school is consisted of materials that we have already chewed so thoroughly. Every mathematical question that we extend to them was solved by the Greek in ancient times. Every chemical solution have already tried and blown up in some French chemist in the 15th century, or every poem that we teach them. We already discussed it. We extend the achievements of the culture, of the human culture, to the next generation. And it's not that we do not ask questions. We give room for dialogue and for imagination and for new things and everything. But the curriculum is this. So why, of all things, we are putting this ball of fire on their desk and expect them to be the next generation that solves it?
Isn't it also born out of some sort of pragmatic consideration that, if you look at the political tendencies according to divisions of age, usually the ones that are more conciliatory, the ones who are more prone to some sort of compromise and engagement are the older people?
I'm not sure. I have to see the polls. But I do think that we have to invest in the young people, of course, but not to put the entire thing on their shoulders. This is the thing. And what is relevant and what is ethical, in my opinion, is that when the adults themselves are practicing this, it is okay to share their not only the achievements, but share their hesitations with their children, but out of practice. This is the reason that the bilingual schools have an active community around the school. This gives legitimacy because to teach the children to send the children to a bilingual school, because quite few people say, okay, I've done my thing, I sent my kid to a bilingual school. Hey, this is not the issue. The issue is you. And when you practice this and you send your children to the bilingual school, then this is education. The kids will follow.
You were born on a kibbutz, as you write in the book, in the early years of Israel. You were slated to become the poster boy of Zionism, like so many kibbutzniks of your age. And you still describe yourself, you insist on describing yourself as a Zionist. So what does Zionism, the concept, what does it consist of today for you? And how has it evolved during your lifetime?
There's also the conclusion of the book, which is civic Zionism. So
I do not insist on considering myself a Zionist. I'm painfully describing myself as a Zionist. Zionism to me is, first and foremost, the belief that the Jewish people have a right as a people to conduct collective life in the land of Israel, first and foremost. Secondly, historically, as a member of the Zionist movement, I think that I have a huge responsibility to rectify the wrong and to change the action of Zionism.
Which is to dispossess the Palestinians and the Arab dwellers of this country. Is that what you mean?
Yes. The Zionist movement, the Zionist movement, not as an idea, but the Zionist movement historically and politically, militarily, in all walks of life, did wrong, ignoring the Palestinian natives of this country when coming to build our home, our collective home in the land of Israel. Now, there were basically two options here: to do it together with them, with the Palestinians, and to ask them to do it and to convince them that it's okay and it's worth the effort, or to ignore them and to dispossess them and conquer the country. It's not that this voice of partnership was not there in the beginning. It was. I think that the first one was in 1905 by Yitzhak Epstein, begging to the Zionist Congress to consider this as a shared project with the Palestinians. And later on, so many attempts were done. Even Ben Gurion, חברים. Ben-Gurion himself passed a resolution in the Zionist organization in February 1931, stating that the land will be governed nationally by Palestinians, by the Arabs and the Jews. And any of them will not have any kind of superiority over the other as a result of larger number of members. This was a resolution in February 1931. Now, even
when Jews were a minority.
That's right. That's right.
Sorry.
But even if we take it as with the irony, and I think we may even think and reflect back that it was cynical at the time. The language was there. At least it was. They did not ignore this option. They chose not. And it was a wrong choice, in my opinion, when I reflect back. Now, that means it's also a very personal question. Can I exempt myself from this? Can I leave this apart and say, I'm not part of this? No, I am part of this. Not only because I'm a kibbutznik. Everyone who lives everywhere, every Jew in Israel is a Zionist by action. We all enjoy the fruits of Zionism, which are rotten morally, but we have to change it.
So what would rectifying entail?
First and foremost, understanding this, and this is so hard to understand. Second,
It's very often hard for privileged people to understand that they're privileged.
yes,
Yeah.
to understand the privilege, to embrace the notion that we are privileged, and that to embrace the notion that this is wrong. Okay? It's very hard to live with this. The second part is even harder, to practice sharing power. The book is full of stories about practicing of sharing power. What is not reflected there thorough enough is the back pains that it causes. Huge back pains during the years when I began in mid-90s mainly. I couldn't get up in the morning to go to work. But it took time until I understood this. Insisting to share in practice is, I think, the main issue. It's very hard for a Jewish Ashkenazi man, kibbutznik. Everything is on me except for the blue eyes. Everything. And sharing the power is, to me, in a civil society organization, is virtual. It's not real even. Because my life are on the kibbutz, I'm still enjoying quote unquote, because I cannot enjoy it as much, but I benefit from this until now. But even virtually doing this in a civil society organization at work caused me back pains. So you can just imagine how hard it will be for the Jewish beneficiaries of this of Zionism to give it up.
So you're talking about your years in Sikui?
No, the years that I understood this, the 90s, were in Givat Chaviva. Children Teaching Children was a program at Givat Chaviva.
Which is an educational center of the kibbutz movement.
Kibbutz movement. I was invited to be the director of this program. Actually, it started in my classroom a few years before that as an Arabic teacher. And after few months, the staff, which of the supervisors who went out to the schools and to help them get the kids together and learn Arabic and Hebrew together, most of them were Arabs. Most of the supervisors were Arabs. And they demanded that I will not be the only director, but there will be an Arab director with me. It was 1995.
And this whole concept of power sharing, do you see it also in every level of public life in Israel? So we're talking even about, the legislative, the government, that every state institution will have shared power between Jews and Arabs, like the Northern Irish model that you mentioned earlier. And will that be a realization of Zionism for you? Because it is not I'd say, an overwhelming majority of Zionists.
First and foremost, as a Ben Gurionist, I'm joking. I would say that sharing the power should not be considered by the numbers. So the essential power sharing that needs to take place here will affect all walks of life, not only the government. People go to the government. It's not only the government, it's the planning, urban planning, everything. All the kibbutzim and the moshavim will have to return all the lands that they were given for agriculture back to the state. And the state will have to redistribute it regardless whether you're a Jew or an Arab. The bids, the kibbutzniks will always be able to bid, but not only them. Okay?
Which is the situation right now.
This is the situation now. So in all walks of life, and each and every small and big kind of discrimination in favor of the Jews and against the Palestinians will be considered as anti-Zionist when civic Zionism will prevail.
Do you have any partners on the Arab side subscribing to this kind of Zionism? For many Palestinians, just the mention of Zionism is taboo. So don't you think, touting this kind of Zionism, even if it's civic Zionism, that is essentially very different from the Zionism that we know right now, don't you think it's counterproductive? Does it not alienate potential partners saying, okay, Zionism, I'm staying away from it?
You do right, it's not a precondition.
Oh, certainly not.
Your version.
Of course not. No, of course not. I'm fully aware to the extent of resentment that Palestinians have against this word. And I feel this is very painful for me, of course, but it's justified, horribly justified. But on the other hand, the same as I tell Jews not to resent those partners on the other side who describe themselves as Palestinians. I have to ask the Palestinians to make a huge effort with lots of generosity and accept that I do think that the Jewish people have a right for collective Jewish life in the land of Israel. Now, the question is how to do this. To me, the only way to do this is in shared equality, fully equal with the Palestinians. And any other form of establishing a Jewish collective home in the land of Israel is non-Zionist. It's controlling. It's only bad words I can say about this. I mean, we came to the country to build it and to be built. This is the name of a very famous Zionist song. not to control it.
So you write about the law of return, and you write about how historically it served a particular purpose at the beginning of the state, and that today that purpose is changing, and that part of this change is going to be through that. And the law of return is really the connection between Israel and its Jewish diaspora. And you have this particular view of the role of the diaspora and of Americans and American Jews and the American political establishment in this story. And it's a very eye-opening account. Can you tell us more about this?
It's written in the book in the diaspora with a capital D. I do have an open account with the American. I was first and foremost, I was a Zionist shaliach, emissary in English, in Toronto for 3 years, running a youth group, HaShomer HaTzair. And only there I started to understand what actually citizenship mean in Canada. Blame Canada, right? But also I understood the very, very strong connection between American Jewry or North American Jewry and Israel. And the fact that they are not judging any of what we do here. It's not true now. That was 30 years ago. But the immense role that the American Jewry has in the very establishing of the state and creating even the discrepancies between Jews and Palestinians. I think that, when we're talking about peoplehood of the Jewish people, I do feel part of I am Jewish, first and foremost. And the Jewish people, unwillingly sometimes, do have, as a collective, do have responsibility for what we have done here. Okay? Also, they were involved, most of them. But even those who were not involved, we do have responsibility for this, to rectify. We do have this is notion of tikkun. And tikkun, by the way, it's not only to rectify. Tikkun is to build. We have to rebuild. Now, one thing that was left in the diaspora and did not cross the ocean all the way here is the notion of living with the other. When I was invited years ago to talk to the plenum of the JCPA, the Jewish Council for Public Affairs. This is the umbrella organization of the JCRCs. And the guy explained to me what it is before we sat at the Inbal Hotel in Jerusalem, and he explained to me what it is. He said each and every one of the 124 communities, Jewish communities in the United States, has JCRC, the Jewish Council for Relations with the Non-Jews around the community, and the general community, as they call it. And I said, why? I said, he answered, because we are about 5-6 million Jews living among about 300 million non-Jews, and we have to get along with them. And after that, I thought, hey, isn't this the situation here? We're about 7 million Jews within about 350 million non-Jews. Shouldn't we get along with them? How come you left this notion of Jewish life back in the diaspora? You should have brought this capital D here. We need you here. Don't mind the ocean. That's the issue. We need you here with this Jewish wisdom of living with non-Jews. 2,000 years. Hey.
Yeah, well, part of the Zionist revolution was to do away with many things, including that, I'm assuming.
That was another wrong.
Yeah.
I was brought up to resent diaspora. And it was wrong. It was one more wrong thing that I was brought up to feel.
Yeah. You said earlier that the book, I think your wife says that the book is a list of all your failures.
Yeah, not all of them. She said it's a shortened list.
Okay, yeah. So I want to ask you about Sikui and in general, about looking back on your decades of activism. What would you say is your biggest accomplishment, the thing that you're most proud of?
I will not rate them, but things that I remember now or stemming. The first was shared directorship of the program in Givat Chaviva. To me, it was...
You felt you were a trailblazer in that it's something that you set up, like you set up a model that you yourself and many others followed.
I'm not sure that I was the first one. In Neve Shalom was there since early 80s. Okay? This is the beacon. But to me, it was crossing a huge line to share the power equally. This is achievement like quit smoking that saves your life. This was the first one.
So you're saying that it's like quitting smoking because power is also an addiction? And superiority is also an addiction? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe. I'm not a psychologist.
No, you're just...
But yes, of course. Yes. And it's not. It does not mean that I'm clean. I'm not. Until now, I'm not. It's self-cleaning. It's like it's it's like it's very religious. You have to pray every day. It's not enough to pray once. The second one was with Sikui. Professionalizing the vocation was a major step forward. That means that it's not enough to say that there is discrimination. And it's not enough to bring anecdotes as I brought anecdotes and with the Sikui reports. This was very important to raise the issue. But in order to penetrate this wall of government, you have to come up with a equality index. And this is what we did. We worked a year and a half on an equality index with the best statisticians in Israel. We galvanized a tool for the government to work. This what broke the wall in the government. Only 9 years later, they managed to pass the Resolution 922, but the breaking...
The Resolution 922, which was Resolution 922, not only allocated 15 billion shekels to rectify infrastructures and so on and so forth, but changed the mechanism of allocation of the government. I hope very much that the current government is not listening to this podcast because they're going to change it back.
Funnily enough, it was made under Netanyahu's
it
government.
Was, yes, Netanyahu.
Yeah. Okay, Shuli Dichter, a veteran activist for Jewish-Arab Shared Society and the CEO of Hand in Hand, bilingual school network, and the author of the new memoir, Sharing the Promised Land, in pursuit of equality between Jewish and Arab citizens in Israel. Thank you very much for coming and discussing all this with us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
And also many thanks to Itai Shelem, the manager of TLV1 Studios, and to you, Yael. Now, a request. Many or most of you listen to us on the Apple Podcasts app, and we would like to ask you to please consider writing us a review of any kind. Good, bad, ugly, up to you. You too can support us by going to our website and subscribing onto our Patreon campaign. Check out our archive. It has something like 800 interviews. Like us on Facebook. Follow me and Yael on Twitter. And most important, join us again next week for another edition of the Tel Aviv Review. And from us here in Tel Aviv, goodbye.